speak about what you do, there's so much care.
If you noticed during the presentation, we just kind of got out of that, we kind of got on a lot of tangents, and we all participated, which I thought was great. We all have the same experiences, but they're all a little different, but they all come from the heart. They come from passion. And that's what I love about what we do for the senior population.
And I want to talk about heart, passion, but I want to get into some more left brain stuff here. I want to talk about trends. Because senior living is what you design for. I mean, you are in that space and you're learning new things, you're studying. What are you watching right now around senior living that we should be paying attention to?
Well, I think we're taking a lot of our inspirations from the hospitality world, and we always probably have. I think it's becoming more and more evident now that, the dining trend is really, really big. We have multi-dining venues that we're building into the communities, maybe a more formal dining room, a less formal dining room that's maybe an all-day grab and go, coffee shops, places for you to have maybe a pastry in the morning, or maybe in a tea in the afternoon or something like that. Outdoor dining is becoming big as well. We have started naming the dining rooms like restaurant names versus just it being the dining room, so to speak. There are still communities out there, though, that have a stricter dining regiment, and I think that's also going to be current, or maybe just more stable. We have residents that really enjoy the strict 1, 2, 3 meals. For instance, a resident came up to me recently as I was in a building, and she was telling me that she moved to the community that we were in because it had more of a timed eating. She didn't see anyone when she had an open dining room and open times. And so I was like, wait a minute now. We're talking about these trends. We're talking about, multiple dining spaces and all of this. And I'm like, ooh. We need to kind of step back. But yes, it's a trend. We do need to step back and take a look.
Wow.
Maybe this isn't the best because she missed seeing people. If they could eat all day long, suddenly she was going when she wanted to go, but none of her friends were there. Now where she lives, breakfast is at 8, 12:30 lunch, maybe 5:30 dinner. She was guaranteed to sit with her friends. So it's a trend, but it also is something we need to also remain as a constant, what we've always done. So that's sort of a trick question maybe in a way when it comes to the trend of dining.
Well, I mean, I think it sheds light on just how to take trends with caution.
Right.
Just in general, regardless of the industry or what you're designing for.
Exactly.
There's qualitative research that needs to happen. Conversations, not just data, but conversations. I'm curious about that because you need to be empathetic to design, right? You need to walk a mile.
Correct, yeah.
How do you walk a mile? How do you stay engaged at that deep level?
You have to understand who's living there. First and foremost, we're doing this for them in the end. We're not doing it to win any awards, but we also do need to answer to a number of people. We have the investing company. We have the ownership company. We maybe have a different operator that has a brand that they want to portray. And then we also just have the residents and the residents' families. We always forget about the families. We're also answering to them. So you need to have a great conversation with all of these people and then kind of come back to the table and say, okay, I think this is what we're going to do now. And I think we're going to fulfill everyone's needs. And it's a tough walk to walk. I don't think we're always successful, but I think that's okay. That's okay. We will learn, and hopefully we can fix that if we didn't do it quite right the first time. And it's tough. I mean, we're also passionate about it, that I think we want to do our best. When we don't, I think we take it really hard. So that question is sometimes you get a little pit in your stomach when you say, how do you get so entrenched? It's like, I think we love what we do. We love who we do it for. And we want to do such a good thing. And when we don't, I think we feel it. So I don't know. That probably didn't answer your question very well, but I'm just saying.
It did. I can sense that, you care deeply about the outcomes.
100%. Yeah. If I have a resident that comes up to me when we're finished with a renovation or an installation, and they just aren't happy, I'm so sorry that I can't fix it at that moment, but I feel so sad that I didn't do it right. I didn't do it right for that. And I'm trying to answer to 144 people typically in a building, 80 to 140 some people. And I can't please everyone, but I want to. And I think that's where the passion comes from. And I think that's where the rub is with getting so entrenched into it. I'm not going to be able to succeed, but I want to so bad for everybody.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I feel like any commercial designer who's designed any space probably can relate
Right.
to this feeling of like, how do you please everyone?
Yes.
All 144 people and the staff and everything. I was thinking about senior living and the vocabulary around it, and how when you're in senior living, you're probably more sensitive to certain words or certain phrases.
Yes.
Are there some hot buttons for you? Like some maybe you can educate an audience that doesn't know a lot about senior living right now on some words to avoid.
Facility is probably the biggest one. In our discussion earlier today, a colleague kind of brought this up. If I can say the F word, it's the facility word. They live in a community. When I speak at like some hospitality driven events, we're always wanting to get rid of the word facility from everyone's vocabulary. It's a home. You don't live in a facility per se. We just want, and I also hate saying room. Even though the residents constantly say, are you going back to your room? And I'm like, it's your apartment. You have an apartment or a condo within this building that has common space, which is your shared living space. You still have your own apartment that has a living room and has a little kitchenette, has your own bedroom, typically, unless you have a studio. So that's another one too. I hate saying the word room.
Yeah.
Oh, let me think for a moment. What other words are kind of a trigger word? The facility one is just the biggest one that we just really try to drive, I guess. It's just we want to take away that stigma of a home.
Yeah. Yeah.
From either a community or an apartment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Let's talk about amenity spaces, right? Because amenity spaces are changing, evolving. That's a hot word across a lot of industries right now, but specifically in senior living.
Well, it can be almost anything. In our buildings that we have, the amenity spaces, we have a big activity space with a kitchen bistro where we can either have the residents participate in baking something or do demonstrations, a bistro where they can have a party in. The other amenity spaces are our movie theaters, true on movie theaters, real movie theater seats, step down, dark, the big curtain, everything, that the whole 9 yards. And the other amenities that I think are more current in the independent living and more higher end independent, you've got Olympic-sized pools. You actually have some doctor's offices. A gym per se, like not just a couple of machines, but we've got a full-on gym. Pilates, this is a thing. And then of course your typical amenity spaces. I mean, you need to have spaces for these residents to gather. And do certain tasks, but I guess it's the dining thing, the movie theaters, games, and outdoor. I mean, indoor outdoor pools and all this is one of the biggest amenities I think we have right now.
Just seeing some of the pictures that you've shown earlier, it was really encouraging to think about, that this is where I could end up.
This is where we're going to be.
Yeah. All right, I want to talk a little bit about standards too, because you have the challenge of delivering a beautiful space, but doing it in a very safe way,
right? And
the standards that need to be met. Is there anything about that balance that's challenging or unique to senior living?
One in particular, and then I'll kind of get into what I think are my standards. I always say I'm the voice of reason on some of the panels, or Debbie Downer at times, but. What I deal with on every renovation that I do in our buildings is that the generation before, again, this is still independent living, but they had the dining room chairs with 4 casters. So easy mobility, move around. New policy is front leg casters, really easy glides on the back, so they can still push out from the table, but still have the ease of getting in and out with the front leg casters. And it's a struggle when you make that change for them. But I think that is a huge safety issue that I think we're trying to bring to the forefront right now. And I think even as an independent living building, people are aging and staying in one place longer. So our bodies are still going to kind of deteriorate as we age, but they don't need the medical help that an assisted will give them. But
Sure.
we have to do that in different ways. Furniture, how they get in and out of the dining chairs. Some of my standards, when I do talk to some hospitality designers that they just don't quite understand, is you have certain dimensions that you need to adhere to when it comes to seating, I would think. And the biggest one is like with lounge seating, so sofas, lounge chairs, and whatnot, is I have a strict rule of kind of 20 inches deep interior seat depth. And that's like from the front of it to where the cushion starts. And so that's like 19 to 21 inches. If I hit 21, I'm putting a pillow in just in case. I'm short. So I'm like the height of all of our residents. So I understand that, and if I do a sit test, then I know I'm probably going to fit the residents pretty well. The seat height around 19 inches high, and what this allows is that they're not so low. They don't need the energy to get themselves up. The help of an arm is also great. So you see a lot of love seats or individual chairs versus larger sofas. Those they get stuck in the middle, don't always have the leverage. But if you have that seat depth, narrow seat depth, the higher seat height, a little firmer seat, you're never going to have any instant of someone per se being stuck, and being able to do it themselves. I told the story earlier about the resident that had a sofa before a renovation and struggled to get out, and at the end of my renovation, she came up to me and was so proud to say that she could get up out of that sofa all by herself. And I thought, okay, job done, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are your personal standards
Well,
that you've
my personal
developed
standards,
over time.
but I have sort of taken them from some of the manufacturers
Sure.
I think they've done research, obviously, that these are some of the dimensions. And I just, whenever I'm sort of delegating or if I'm trying to instruct someone, I just go, these are what I do. And I think these are the most important,
Is there like another golden nugget like that you have that you could just kind of pass forward right now?
When it comes to flooring, let's just say, we've taken a lot of our inspiration from hospitality again, and visually, the flooring is really important. A lot of our seniors are maybe hunched over, or they're looking down, not necessarily up or straight forward. And the wayfinding or understanding to get around is sometimes with floor. And if you have a pattern that's a high contrast perhaps, or that has any movement to it, my little nugget is still have your design, but really look at it closely. Get a large piece of a flooring and look at it and look down at it. And if you have any sense that it's making you even uncomfortable, don't install that. There's a story, if I can also include a little story. I had a smaller piece of carpet I thought was a great pattern, and it kind of had this flowiness to in the pattern. I thought, oh, this will be great. I put it into a memory care neighborhood. We installed it, and all they saw were snakes moving. And I thought, oh, I am a failure. I am never doing this again. I'm going to go sell shoes. So
you didn't fail. You learned.
I did. I lived and learned, and I think we maybe even corrected that mistake. It was a horrible mistake that we all made. But just you need to look at stuff in a larger scale to understand that the visual aspect of what we're doing as well can really affect, because there is movement, there is something that's going to happen under their feet, and they need to be able to not get disoriented by that. I don't know. A little tidbit, maybe.
I love that. Just something about you that I want to get into here. Just you having put in the work, developed your knowledge set and your experience to be an expert in something in the field of design. Can you offer some career advice on just that path to becoming an expert?
Mm-hmm. I think they really need to understand who it is that they want to design for. I think it keeps coming back to that. I didn't realize that I was going to be so fulfilled doing in senior living interior design. I thought after school I was going to be some high-end designer doing homes or whatever. And I somehow, I got into the senior living industry. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of people you have to work with. But if you find that passion of who it is or who you want to serve at the end, pursue it and go all in. I haven't been happier doing it. Yeah, we have some challenges everywhere. But the path, for me was, as a kid, my father worked in a nursing home, And I didn't know, now that I'm 55, who would have ever guessed that I would be designing for this population that my father was, working for, and I helped in the kitchen and clean the kitchen out. I would help with activities and different parties. I felt fate was telling me this is what my journey was going to be.
Yeah.
To fulfill this population. Again, do a little bit of research. If you go visit some senior living, or intern with a hotel or something, and find out if that is going to be who you want to design for, because in the end, you're not going to be successful at whatever that genre is if you don't truly understand it. It can be very, very challenging. It's emotional. This industry is really emotional. It takes a special person to work in a senior living community. And if they don't have the passion, they're not going to be successful, and they're going to have unhappy residents, and you're going to be unhappy yourself. So I have found that when I leave, and if I even have just a handful of residents giving me hugs, oh my gosh, when I leave, I know I've made a difference with at least one person. We'll put it that way. Yeah. I don't know. Did that answer your question? I'm not entirely sure.
It did. I love it.
I'm always off on tangents.
I love it. We need more designers just like you. I mean, there's bunches out there. I think that's why people go into design, right? That passion, that love. I love that fire is so visible in you.
Well, no, I mean, if you're good at it, great, but there's got to be another purpose, I think, and I'll just drive that home. Figure out who you want to design for yourself. Maybe not the best to go into senior living, but if that's who you really want to serve, this is what you should do.
I love it. Kevin, thanks for joining me.
Oh, no, you're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.